Now for the third part of this workshop, we're going to be going over quick interview etiquette and some tips and tricks. Now we're mostly going to focus on the three parts of an interview, which are the pre, during, and after. Now for the pre-interview tips, we're going to start off by researching the company and your interviewers. Now if you go into a company and you know absolutely everything about a company and you even know a little bit about the person you're going to be interviewing, who's going to be interviewing you, you're going to be able to enter that interview with a lot more confidence, thus giving off a much more of a professional impression to the interviewer itself. Number two, we're going to practice answers to common interview questions. We'll have linked on the website 125 common interview questions. It's really important to have, simple answers to these. Even just know for simple questions, just like, tell me about yourself or why are you interested in this role. Have a quick, 5 to 15 seconds of what you want to respond to this. So when you enter the interview, you're not, starting from nothing. Then we want to reread the job description. Number 4, we're actually going to want to use the STAR method in answering all of our questions. We'll quickly cut to a video that explains what the STAR method is.
I recommend a process called the STAR method. With this method, you create a deliberate story arc that your interviewer can easily follow. Here's how it works. First, you start with the situation. What's the context of your story? Then add a task. What was your role in this situation? Next, share your action. What'd you do? And wrap it up with a result. What'd your actions lead to? Let's give it a try. Say you're in an interview and the recruiter asks, "Can you tell me about a challenging situation you overcame at work?" Then you say, "We're working on a 6-month contract for a high-value client when our agency merged with another larger firm. It was my role to lead the transition for my group while also communicating with our client to keep the project on track. I set up weekly check-ins with the client to update them on the progress of the merger. I also had regular one-on-ones with each person on the team to assess how they were handling the change. We ended up completing the project on time, meeting all their needs. It was really rewarding to navigate a lot of change and succeed under pressure." And you're done. See, that wasn't so hard. Practice is key. You won't be able to anticipate every question you get, but with a strong set of anecdotes, you'll be able to answer each one with confidence. Remember, they're interviewing you for a reason. You'll do great.
Now for number 5 for pre-interview tips, we're going to actually recruit a friend to practice answering questions. This is a perfect way of going over your responses that you've kind of come up with from earlier, from number 2, practice answers to your common interview questions, like why are you keen on interviewing for this role, or tell me about yourself. If you actually talk about it with a friend and go through a mock interview, it's the best way of preparing for an interview to making sure you ace it the next day. Number 6, we prepare a list of references, whether these are, professors, teachers, mentors you've had if you've had no experience, or if you do have work experience, whether that's your bosses, whether that's your managers or higher ups. Just make sure you have a list of references so you can give it to the interviewer when you're done or whenever they request it. Now 7, you'll be prepared with examples of your work. As we kind of stated earlier with the STAR method, you want to always have some type of task to be able to show that you've accomplished something at your job. So the night before, look at common interview questions, figure out how you can slide in examples of your work within those for your answers for those questions, just so you can kind of stand out among other interviewers. Now, number 8 and the last one for pre-interview tips, we're going to be talking about prepare smart questions for your interviewers. We'll cut to a quick video that demonstrates exactly how to do this.
A candidate that asks the right questions at the end of the interview is the candidate that stands out the most. It gives the interviewee the opportunity to show their interest in the role and the company, but it also allows you to show off your personality and even all the research you did on that company. When you ask the right job interview questions, you're giving your potential employer proof that you're the right candidate for the job. Can't go wrong with that. In this video, we're going to cover 7 smart questions that you should ask at the end of every job interview. And we want to know, what's the best question you've ever asked at the end of an interview or been asked? Tell us in the comments below. Hi Contessas, I'm Lauren McGoodwin, founder and CEO of Career Contessa, the only career site built inclusively for women. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel because we drop videos weekly. Okay, so let's get into it. Our 7 best questions to ask at the end of a job interview. Question number 1, why is this position available? With this question, you'll learn if this is a brand new position they just created or if you're replacing someone who's on their way out or who's already left. A new position is a sign of growth, and it may spur other interests or even other discussions in your interview. If you're replacing someone, that will really help you understand that, okay, this role's existed before, so now I can ask questions based on that, based on what was the other person doing before. Question number 2, what are the skills needed to master this job? I love this question because this is a question where a candidate is asking because they really want to make sure that they're going to be successful in the role, and so they're asking you to tell them what it is up front so they can prepare for that. By posing this question, you also have a chance to show why your skills align with the position, making connections that may not be evident on the resume. Plus, you'll be able to identify any skills gaps and have the opportunity to sharpen those skills. Question number 3, what's the most important part of this role? This is similar to the previous question, but goes deeper into unquantifiable areas. For example, an interviewer might respond, "This position supports the sales staff, so a sense of humor in the midst of deadlines is a good thing." This question may give you a better idea of the company culture, which can help you understand if you're going to be a good fit or not. Question number 4, what are the prospects for growth in this job? Someone who's going to ask this question really gives off the vibe that they're interested in growing their career here over the long term versus maybe job hopping or they just need a job quickly. By asking this question, you are showing that you will work hard in any situation or project as you move up the ladder. The interviewer's response will let you know if this is an employer who is accustomed to helping employees further their career goals. Question number 5, what do you enjoy most about working here? This gives you a chance to direct the conversation toward the interviewer so she can talk about herself, something all humans pretty much enjoy doing. You can learn more about why she picked this company, what her favorite parts are, and that will open up the dialogue in a new way. Question number 6, when are you looking to start the right candidate? This spurs a discussion that helps you align expectations appropriately, meaning if they tell you they're not looking to hire the right person for a month, you know that you can expect maybe something in a month. Another example is if you tell an interviewer that you can't start for 2 weeks because you want to give your current boss plenty of notice. They'll know that you're a person with ethical values similar to their company, but also they now have expectations on when you can start. Question number 7, can I have a quick tour of the office? Especially if this is your second or third interview on site at a company, it's a great way to kind of show them hey, I'm really considering this role and I'd love to see the space, the workspaces and people in the workspaces to see if I could picture myself here. If you ask the question and the employer says no, it may indicate A, you're not on the short list, B, this place is too busy, or C, they won't prioritize your comfort now or in the future. So those are just things to keep in mind. So those are 7 smart questions to ask at the end of any job interview.
Now for tips of the day of the interview. Number 1, we're going to have bring copies of your resume, a notepad and pen. It's really important to bring all of these. It just shows a sense of professionalism that is invaluable to show on your first impression to a hiring manager or whoever's interviewing you. Number 2, we want to plan our schedule so that we arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. It's extremely important, especially if we're relying on public transit. If you're relying on public transit, even the 10 to 15 minutes may be a bit too little. Maybe we want to increase it to maybe 15 to 30 minutes early. But definitely you want to make sure you arrive on time just so you have a great first impression. Now, number 3 is make a great first impression. Arrive on time, clean, tidy. Things like this will help you stand out from the rest of the people interviewing. Now, number 4, we have treat everyone you encounter with respect. Now, let's say you go into an office. If your first interaction with someone downstairs, be polite, be respectful. Then you may encounter a receptionist. Treat everyone with respect, and that will follow you to your interview. Number 5, practice good manners and body language when you're in an interview. Don't have a shaky leg. Make good eye contact. Just try to seem calm and relaxed. It goes a long way. Number 6, you want to win them over with the authenticity and positivity. Be as authentic as possible. Obviously, in an interview, you're trying to make yourself sound more professional than you are maybe in more of a casual setting. If you're going to do this, you obviously have to be authentic, but also be positive. Make the vibe in the room something where you're both comfortable. It goes a long way. Now, we also want to respond truthfully to all the questions asked. If we're using the STAR method, make every single accomplishment we made in the workplace sound as professional as possible, but do not lie at any point during the interview. And lastly, one of the most important ones for during the interview, which a lot of people forget about, is do not speak negatively about your previous employers. If you did have a bad experience at a previous employer, just don't bash, your old managers or old bosses. Just talk about the experience and say you've moved on from there. You want to be giving too much information about this, and specifically just do not badmouth anyone during an interview. Now, what happens after the interview? This is an extremely important part of the interview that most people kind of do not, we kind of forget and don't necessarily talk about, but it's almost as important as the interview itself. So for the next steps, the after interview tips, we're going to have ask for the next steps and contact information right after the interview. Ask for what the next steps are. So if you're applying in a place, say, what are the next steps for me to be hired? They'll tell you, well, we need, let's say, 3 to 5 days to make a decision, and we'll contact you. And you also want to make sure you have everyone's contact information, the interviewer, the hiring managers. Make sure you have their email, LinkedIn, just in case you need to talk to them in the future. Now, number 2, we're going to have to assess your interview performance. Go home, think about how you answered the questions, how you could have done better, or, how you could have made improvements. It's always good to assess yourself after anything you do in life. Now, number 3, write down anything you want to remember. If there's something that kind of stuck with you throughout your interview, write it down right after the interview, just so you don't forget it. Send a thank you note or thank you email to the hiring manager. Say thank you for their time and, the opportunity to interview for that company will go a long way to really put it, really give like a professional, make you seem a lot more professional and, set you apart from everyone else interviewing. You want to send any supporting documents. So whether you want to send them your resume or your references right after interview, just so they have it before they even ask you for it. And number 6 is contact your references. You want them to know that they're going to be want them to know that they're going to be expecting a call from, a job you've interviewed for, just so they're not blindsided and they know what to do when they, receive that call. Now, on the website, we're going to have linked this video of what to do after an interview. It's a quick 3-minute YouTube video of, going more in depth than what I just talked about. Definitely recommend watching it. And if you want to, ace the post-interview tips, definitely watch